All right. What was this? What was this puzzle mechanic again? It was. I think I had to. I think I had to group all of the white blocks together. I had to like partition everything a certain way. So it was kind of like. It's kind of like this. But I can't do it this way because I messed up. So yeah, it was. I think it was that, but I don't really remember, which is fine because that's the whole point of me playing this again, is so that I don't, you know, I don't want to remember too much. I want this to be a relatively similar experience as like the me not having ever played it. I don't know how close I'll be able to get to that sort of experience, but I'm definitely going to try. Um, the other thing that I can do, yeah, it's I have to find a way to basically partition um, all of the white squares and all of the black squares apart from each other. So I think that I do that with something like this. And, you know, there's probably some commentary being made about like race relations and whatnot going on here, but you know, I'm not that intelligent to be able to analyze this game to that extent. Um I'm also bullshitting. I do not think that this has anything to do with race relations. Alright. So I kinda think this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Okay, well there we go. Those are all partitioned apart from each other. As are these. As is this group. As is this group. And I'm not going to be able to block off the white squares unless this goes perfectly. Which it just might. Crap. Almost. So, yeah, I guess the other thing that I think is kind of awesome about this game, kind of really awesome about it, is that there's no tutorial. There's just like there's just the experience of trying to figure it out. And like this is the kind of the point of the game. You know, I'm slightly spoiling it in a sense because I already have like some familiarity with some of the mechanics, but my memory is so rusty at this point that if I couldn't tell you what all the mechanics are. And then on top of that, like there are mechanics that I straight up never figured out. Like I never figured out how the triangles worked in this game. Oh yeah, so there you are. It is keep all the white tiles together and all the black tiles together. And I think later on there are more different colors, so you're supposed to keep your blues and your reds and whatnots all together. And the other thing is that you're not actually supposed to be able to solve this puzzle until much later in the game. This is supposed to be a challenge puzzle for people really early on who are, you know, they're keeping up with what's going on and they want to take on something really difficult. They can do this puzzle a lot earlier in the game than most other people would attempt it. I remember that I tried to solve this puzzle the first time I played through it, and I could absolutely not solve it until much later in the game. But, yeah, that's just the way it goes. Because I was not the greatest player of The Witness, in my opinion. Bird the Segregator. Hell yeah. That's what I'm all about. Ain't that right, Ladybird? Alrighty. What was I gonna say? Fibonacci sequence makes sense to have overlapping spiral effect in the hex patterns. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. I do actually wonder now what that would look like. As long as you did some sort of offsets, then you would be able to get like the right foliage pattern. But I mean, who knows, you know? The But if you look, like, it's pretty well covered. Honestly, it looks pretty fantastic to me. But the cool thing about this is that he was able to really summarize the last part of all that of that blog, because I love that blog to death. I've read the blog about how the artist put together the Witness so many times, and it's amazing if you're really into that sort of stuff. But now you don't have to read it because I'm telling you my favorite article. The cool thing is that in the white noise solution to the foliage, which was not as good as the hexagonal offset solution, he was, see, this is where you're supposed to learn it, so it's very straightforward. You learn, like, okay, one color goes with one group, the other color goes with the other group. And then he also does this brilliant stuff where it's just like a sequence of puzzles. Okay, before we get too much in that, let me finish my thought, which is that, the white noise solution was, it used more points, so it had more blades of grass to cover all of the ground than the hexagonal solution. So it not only covered the ground better visually, it also used less blades of grass to do it in. And that took forever to build up to that point. But the blog itself is actually incredibly long too, so I don't feel super bad about that. But I am trying to, you know, make sure I finish my thoughts as opposed to getting constantly distracted in the game and be like, ooh, shiny, new little sequence of puzzles. Even though, hey, ooh, shiny, new little sequence of puzzles. So here's another thing that he does that I think is great, where he'll have one puzzle where the layout is like this certain way, and then the next puzzle will be the exact same layout except for one tiny element has changed, and then your solution ends up being completely different. So here, you know, this was the sync node that we're aiming for, and here he moved it to just this little spot. And now, if I ever cover this up, that point, then I have to be in a position where I'm at the very end of the solution. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to solve the puzzle. So if I come over here and go the other direction, then it works. And you'll see that it's a completely different solution than the first one, because he was a smart man, that Jonathan Blow. May he rest in pistols. Okay, let's go ahead and just solve out this one. That's pretty straightforward. And okay, we're almost at the end of the sequence here. And you see again, same thing. He moved the blank tile, and then he moved the sync node. So all I need to do is sweep around this direction, and then that'll solve it. And if you'll notice, there's even a more subtle thing that he did here, where there's a clue where you go up to solve the first puzzle, and then you go right to solve the second puzzle, and then you go up to solve this puzzle, and you go right to solve this one. So it's if you really get into it and learn to like appreciate those little things, I think this game is incredible as a result of that, because that's really what this game is about too. So, you know, if you don't put any value in it, and that sort of like, I don't know, philosophy, then I can see why this game would just end up pissing you off. Because a lot of people were like, I like Braid. I like the way he like, oh, why am I using a controller? Jonathan Blow, Jonathan Blow expressed a lot of like angst after he completed Braid because he felt like a lot of people didn't understand what the point of Braid was. And to be fair, I don't really understand what the point of Braid was in some respects. I certainly don't understand it as deep as Jonathan Blow was hoping everybody would. But I feel like this game really clarifies it, not only for himself, but for me, where it was like about mechanics and about puzzles. Like, I don't know what a first-person shooter design by Jonathan Blow would be like. It would probably be pretty fucking horrible. But puzzle games by him apparently are just like the language that he speaks and sees the world in. And I think that if I say the word Jonathan Blow one more time in this playthrough, people are, I mean, I feel like I've just said the word Jonathan Blow in every other sentence so far, and it's getting a little bit annoying, even to me. So I'm going to try to talk about other things here. But, yeah. This is cool. You know, it's about minimalism in a lot of different aspects. You know, we have low poly 3D models where everything is kind of like a rock with like 8 or 9 sides to it. And all the visual stuff is kind of geared towards guiding the player to exactly where they need to go at all times. So unless you're me at the very beginning of the game, you shouldn't ever get lost in a sense. Like here, you know, we have this railing set up to guide you to walk in this direction, and then you also have this thing on the side to tell you where the end of the platform is, etc., etc. And, oh, here we go. Mirror puzzles, I forgot about them. And, you know, it's incredibly effective, I think. It's effective because it somehow manages to not be boring visually. In fact, I would say that this is honestly an incredibly beautiful looking game. It's kind of kooky and weird, and you know, if you're not old like me and you don't think like, you know, I remember back in the day of Myst Urus, and like that was a game where there wasn't even 3D models, it was sprites, then, you know, maybe you won't appreciate it. But, you know, I'm old, so I'm like, oh, low poly 3D models, I can understand and get into that. That's not intimidating at all. So the mirror puzzles are kind of interesting to me because I feel like they're probably some of the easiest puzzles in the game. But I don't remember if that actually holds true to the very, very end or not. 'Cause it could be that it's easy for now and does not stay that way. So here's something that's going to become a royal pain in the ass as we move through this game, where he will block parts of the puzzle off with, you know, visual stuff, like that little strip of metal right there. It's designed purely to piss you off and block off what you're able to see. But it gets much trickier than just that. And I'm not looking forward to those puzzles, because I can assure you that I will not remember how to solve them, and they are going to be very, very hard. Cool. So, right. I remember now. So there's a different axis of symmetry on these puzzles than the ones that I was doing in the first sequence, where in that one it was like top down symmetry. In this one it's like on a diagonal axis because of the way they put the two source nodes. And you'd think that this one would try to make it over to that sync node, and this one would make it over to that sync node, but it doesn't, and that's kind of cool. And if you look, none of these do that. You know, none of them. Well, okay, this one I guess goes to these two go to the source nodes that you expect them to. This is the only one that changes that up on you. And the first time I played through this game, I didn't realize that, like, okay, so the mechanics of the various puzzles in the sequence, they'll kind of change up on you, and you'll have to figure out, okay, I solved this puzzle this way, and now I need to, like, it'll get a little bit harder for whatever reason. Maybe there's a new mechanic or a new twist thrown in, something like that. But what I didn't realize the first time I played through this game is that the solutions themselves will have a sequencing about them where you can look at the solution that you used for a previous puzzle and then see how it... Oh man, that actually, like, made me sick to my stomach for 1 second there. And you can see how it... Wow, that kind of exemplifies what I'm talking about right there. It's the exact same solution. Thank you. You made the point I was trying to build to. The way that you solve each puzzle ends up being almost a clue for how to solve the next one. And here, you know, it's super visually distorted and it's very hard to tell, but this is actually the same pattern as these other three, even if the walls and stuff appear to be in slightly different configurations. That's clever. I didn't know that the first time I played through this game, and I think that's really, really cool. Now, you may be asking yourself, what in the hell is this giant drying machine doing here? Or washing machine? No, it's a dryer. And truthfully, I don't know. I guess this area is where they made pottery. And some people pay attention to the plot to this game, and they can tell you all about, like, oh, there was this civilization and these sorts of people, and they lived here, and they did this thing, and they, you know, this was, like, the class of society that they were in, and yada, yada, yada. I don't give much of a shit about the plot of this game, and I never have, and I probably never will. I don't really get into, oh, that's adorable, I never noticed this was here before. I never really, oh, it's a kiln, so this is the sand, and then this is, they blast it in the furnace, and that's why it's got blast markers all over there, and then they turn it into pottery, using their various tools or whatever. I've never really gotten into games where the plot is, like, too obscured. I need a little bit of, you know, straightforwardness when it comes to my stories. At least in video games. I have, very unrefined tastes. Okay. Any environmental puzzles that I've passed over? I mean, the answer is almost assuredly yes, but I haven't seen any, so we'll just keep moving forward for now. Alrighty. I think I can solve this by going this way and swing around. This sequence of puzzles was really, really hard for me the first time I played. And I don't remember why, but I think I'm about to. Okay. So it's a mirror puzzle where, oh, maybe I'm not allowed to do this one yet. Ah, yeah. That's the issue. I need to go down here. This is why I wasn't able to solve this one. It was because I didn't realize the first time I played through that you're supposed to do something else to get those panels to unlock. So you have to go and solve a whole series of puzzles first. Then you'll be able to do it. Then you'll be able to do it, huh? Then you will be able to do it. I also want to quickly call out that there's something that's always been really weird to me about this game, in that you're solving this visual puzzle with a terminal, and there's a fucking, like, piece of metal over it, and you're not able to do it. Which implies that, like, your weird little light thing, your weird little Tron motorcycle that you got going on there, like, actually occupies this, like, space over the screen. I always thought that was really strange, but it's kind of cool.